So I just really want to talk about something. I want to talk about mutants, right? I want to talk about mutants in the MCU. Obviously, there's going to be huge spoilers for Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, and also some WandaVision, some Shang-Chi, basically all the MCU. Because I tend to riff and I tend to rant and I end up saying a lot of spoilers. So be warned, if you just do not like spoilers and there's any MCU stuff you haven't watched, I would say just be aware, you have been warned. So we got our first but our first introduction to mutants in the MCU. Everyone has been wondering, how are they going to bring mutants into the MCU? I've been wondering for years, and I was waiting for the day that they will come to the MCU. Since I really didn't like the way Fox treated the X-Men. The only two X-Men films I liked were X-Men 2, which was okay, and I liked Old Man Logan. Yes, it has some bits in it that just don't make any sense, but it was a solid film. Days of Future Past was I guess it was, in retrospect, was pretty bad, but I commend them for trying to fix the issues that they created, but only to ruin things again. Anyway, Disney has the rights to X-Men, has the rights to Fantastic Four, which I'll do another video on at some point. But the X-Men, how should they come to the MCU, right? We kind of got the introduction through Patrick Stewart's Professor Xavier in his shiny yellow hovering chair and his green suit. it was like he was just ripped out of the cartoons. It was really fun to see. But he didn't exactly say, hey, the truth is there are mutants. Wanda is a mutant. He didn't say any of that. The word mutant has not been used throughout the MCU, apart from that one deleted scene where Nick Fury is saying radioactive bugs, assorted mutants, and all that kind of stuff. But that was deleted, of course, because they didn't have the rights to use those characters. But now they have the rights. So what are they going to do? I'm going to tell you what I don't want them to do. And this is the idea that people keep bringing in. And I really hate this idea. And I hope to God that they're not going to do it, but they probably will. Will I be disappointed? Yes. Will I still enjoy the film? Yes. But I will be pretty disappointed. So this is the idea that the majority of people think is going to happen. They feel like because we're dealing with incursions, we're dealing with different Earths, we're dealing different universes and timelines and stuff like that. People are saying that the Fox universe, the X-Men in the Fox universe, are from another timeline, are from another reality, another universe. And they are going to collide with the 616, now named the 616 film MCU universe, right? And then the mutants are actually going to come from another universe, and everything's going to be joined together, and that's how you're going to get mutants. I understand that thinking. I totally get that thinking, right? But I hate it. I hate this idea. I really hope, I pray to God that they do not do this in the MCU, because I think it would be really crappy writing, honestly. And this is why you shouldn't really introduce time travel and all these kind of, I think it's too early for the incursions, but it's interesting to watch. But I hope that they do not do this, primarily because of what the X-Men are about. The X-Men are a kind of illustration of of prejudice, racism, an allegory for racism, basically. Some would say. And the X-Men, the reason why people are afraid of mutants, and they're not afraid of people like Spider-Man, and they're not afraid of people like Captain America, they're not afraid, it sounds very dumb. You have someone flying around you shooting beams out of her hands, but you're scared of the person that can just move something a few inches away with her hands. But there's a reason why people are scared of this, right? So if you think about racism, right? If you think about racists, if you think about prejudice, it just doesn't make any sense, because you hate someone that is just naturally the way they are and they can't help it, right? And that is what the X-Men is about. That's what mutants are about. They're an allegory for prejudice. These people just they wake up one day, or something traumatic happens to them, or whatever it is, most of the time in their teenage years, and then they end up awakening these powers, right? shooting beams out of their eyes. Sometimes it's not even a useful power. Sometimes they might just be really hairy. They're just mutants. They just have a mutation, and it's just the natural progression of things. To bring them in from another universe, to me, just makes it seem like they're aliens. Why? Like, we already have aliens. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. Like, it makes sense, but I think it will be a massive cop out, right? It just will be crappy. To me, it'll be crappy writing. I just can't get over that, you know? I really hate the idea that they come from another universe and they're just gonna kind of copy and paste them into the main universe, and everyone's gonna be happy and everything. But why should they be scared of them? Why should there be this prejudice of like people hating mutants while they're trying to fit into society and all that kind of stuff? You know, generally people aren't really scared of superheroes, but they're scared of mutants because mutants are the natural progression of humanity. That is the main reason why they should not come from another universe, because anyone could wake up, could have a kid, and further down the line, this daughter or this son or whatever would wake up and start shooting fire out of his mouth. That's why people are scared of them, because it's the natural evolution of human beings. It's where they're gonna go, and they're basically superior to humans. That's all it is. That's what it is. If you read Hickman's X-Men, you know, it talks about this, that they're just like, yeah, we're superior. Like, they're just not, they've had enough pretty much, and they've just gone to they created their own nation, their own currency, their own everything, you know, and they just like deal with it. This is the natural progression of humanity, and that's what the X-Men are about. That's what the mutants are about. And it's fighting if you go back to like the original cartoons and stuff like that, it's fighting for peace in a world that hates them, even though they keep popping up. Now, I've told you why I hate that idea. I'm telling you why. I'm about to tell you how they should be introducing the MCU, right? So in the MCU, we have an event, right? And this is the out of all the theory crafting, this is probably my favorite one. Remember in Avengers Endgame where, okay, you had the first snap, right? The first snap is when Thanos blinked out half of the life forms in the universe, right? Blinked out, all life gone, half of all life gone. The second snap is when the Hulk brought everyone back. Second snap. Remember before then they were talking about waves of radiation and all that kind of stuff basically going across the globe, right? Remember that the snaps had like gamma, it had radiation, all that kind of stuff. Now the second snap, Hulk brought everyone back. The third snap, Tony took away Thanos's people, Thanos and his army. So you have three snaps that have radiation. How is that not going to do anything to anybody? Like if you look at the trailer for the new She-Hulk film the series that's about to come out, you know, it doesn't look like it's a blood transfusion or something like that. It might just be, you know, the snap actually, you know, and because of her being related to Bruce Banner, she had a similar mutation as Bruce Banner to become the Hulk, not as over the She-Hulk, not as over the top, but she can control it and all that kind of stuff. But why can't people are saying that basically that radiation could actually awaken mutants, but people are like, oh wait, Demi, but like where were mutants before? I'm gonna get to that. So you have the way they should put it. This is what I think they should do. They should say mutants have always existed, but they didn't have a name for them. So that way you can say Pietro was a mutant. You can say Wanda was a mutant. If you really, really wanted to make things kind of a bit more believable, you could say flipping Maria Rambeau. Is it Maria Rambeau? From WandaVision. She's a mutant. You can say that, you know. I wouldn't really mind, to be honest, but I'm sure some fans would be like, yeah, that would be Monica Rambeau. That's it. Monica Rambeau. You could say she's a mutant, although I don't think that's gonna happen. But she did go through like that barrier, which is, you know, from Wanda's powers, which is also, they say, is from the Mind Stone, but at the same time it's not really. But anyway, yeah, you have a way to bring in a whole influx of mutants. But where were Wolverine? Where were Professor Xavier before then? Where was Namor? Where was Apocalypse before all of this? Why haven't they been named? You know, they could have been snapped during the Infinity War, or they could, a whole bunch of them could not have been snapped. Like, imagine half the population of the mutants actually disappear. And then there's only a handful of them. Do you think they're gonna fight with only 5 of them left? They're not gonna fight Thanos with only 5 of them left. They're gonna take care of themselves and look after themselves. They're not gonna fight that big war, right? Doesn't make any sense. But you can say that they always existed, but in this very small amount. There weren't that many of them. Therefore, because I'm sure Nick Fury knows about them. I'm sure Shield knows about them. You know, I'm sure Tony knew about them. I'm sure like a lot of people know about them, but they are not named mutants yet. They're called miracles. Just as in Age of Ultron. They called Wanda and Pietro miracles. So, you know, this is how you can bring them into the MCU. You can say they always existed, but there weren't enough of them for them to be a threat. But because of the 3 snaps, that's triggered something in the genealogy of the humans that had the X gene, and then all of a sudden all these people are just popping up left, right and center all over the world with these new random powers, and they have to do something about it. And now Xavier is like, I have to gather all these people. He has a reason to gather people around. He has a reason to bring them into their school. You know, the school might not have existed before the snap. The school might actually be a new thing, and he's like, I'm gathering people because the snaps actually, for some reason, the snap has actually triggered something in all these teenagers, all these people that have come back from the blip or have experienced trauma in some way, or the radiation might have actually mutated the people that were already, you know, in that hadn't been blipped. So you have these people that are just becoming mutants, or their X gene is being awakened, and they have a reason to gather them. But there's people like Apocalypse and Wolverine that have always existed, but they've just been really on the down low. Or people have just been worshipped, like Apocalypse being worshipped as a god, Storm being worshipped as a god, like in the comics. So you have a way to bring them in. But please, Kevin Feige, if there's something you're gonna do not let them come from another universe. I think that would be very, very crappy writing. That'll be very lazy. I'll understand if they do bring them in that way, but and you guys really missed the trick with the Eternals, man. Like the Eternals being the explanation, being able to explain how mutants and how people with superpowers actually get superpowers. Like they really, really missed the trick there. But what do you guys think? How do you think the X-Men or the mutants should be brought into the MCU? I'd like to know. I'd like to know what you guys think, and how would you have them brought in? Subscribe, like, comment below, and subscribe to our podcast, the Loading Time Podcast, where we talk about everything nerd culture, video games, comic books, and movies, and lots more. I'm Demi, and I hope to speak to you guys again soon. Bye.